My name is Rachel Tibbetts, and I'm the Director of Youth Programs for Prison Performing Arts. And today I have the great pleasure of getting to spend some time with a wonderful artist, a beautiful colleague, and a dear friend, Carl Overly Jr. Hi, Carl.
Hey Rachel,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you.
You
So,
too.
Carl, we're going to spend a little time talking about you and the important work that you do as an artist and with Prison Performing Arts. So,
Okay.
I'm going to start off by just giving people some background information about you. Carl is an actor, director, producer, and teaching artist. He has worked with Metro Theater Company several times, most recently in Ghost, and then It's a Wonderful Life, Bud Not Buddy, and In This Corner, Cassius Clay. He's also worked with Sate many times, memorably as Lenny in Of Mice and Men, and then some great work with the Black Rep, Two Trains Running, and Torn Asunder. And then we got to share the stage together at Mustard Seed Theater. The Last Days of Judas Iscariot, and then there's so many other wonderful productions that you've been in. But I do want to mention that you hold a Bachelor of Arts in Theater from Eastern Kentucky University, and were named a Rising Leader of Color by the Theater Communications Group. And you're a three-time award winner of the St. Louis Theater Circle Awards. Do we see those today?
No, those are hidden for today. Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone keeps telling me they're in the background too much. So I'm just
Well,
gonna,
yeah.
yeah.
So, Carl, can you start off by telling us where you're from?
Yes, I am from Maysville, Kentucky, which is it's in northern Kentucky. It's about an hour south of Cincinnati, Ohio. So it's literally right on the Ohio River.
Excellent. And
Yeah.
what brought you to St. Louis?
What brought me to St. Louis was I graduated from Eastern Kentucky University, and I didn't know what I was gonna do afterwards. And I saw an opportunity to apply for the internship with the St. Louis Black Rep, and then I applied and came to St. Louis and auditioned, and then a month later I was here.
Great. Could you tell us a little bit about the internship that you did with the Black Rep?
Yeah, absolutely. So the internship, I did 2 years of the internship. And basically, I mean, as an intern, you kind of do everything. But our main kind of focus was we were part of a touring company, and we did 3 or 4 different shows that we took out to schools and the community and libraries and things like that. And then also as an intern, we had to do like a lot of box office, a lot of administrative work. Some of us were given the opportunity to be on the main stage. So that was really cool. And then also stage managing, assistant stage managing, just meeting a lot of different people from outside of St. Louis, making a lot of relationships and connections. It was hard at times, but it was very rewarding. And like my time at the Black Rep as an intern really molded me into kind of what you see today.
Oh, that's great. And
Yeah,
you've recently been able to return to the stage
yeah.
with them and Torn Asunder, and then most recently, Two Trains Running. Can you talk a little
hmm
bit about that experience of working on Two Trains Running?
Yeah, Two Trains Running was amazing because it's August Wilson, which is like Shakespeare for Black folks. And I'd never done it before. I'd never done August Wilson. I always wanted to do August Wilson. And when I got the opportunity to do it in the character of Wolf, I was just ecstatic. And I got to work with Ed Smith, who's directed August Wilson all over the country, and got to work with Ron Hines and James Williams and Jerome Davis and Jason Little and Travis Banks and I'm gonna mess up her name, so I'm not even gonna say it because I'm gonna mess up her name as I was saying it. But it was amazing to work with all of those artists, and at the Black Rep. I mean, it's a great stage to be on, and it was a wonderful production, wonderful experience, and I want to do more.
It was a beautiful
Yeah.
production. As an audience member, I just, at the end of the play, I just sat there just wanting more. So,
Sharissa Wiley, that's it. Okay, I don't,
yeah,
some Sharissa Wiley.
excellent.
Yes.
Well, we've been so fortunate to be able to collaborate together over the years through many different organizations, but Prison Performing Arts. I was wondering if you could recall what your first experience collaborating with PPA was.
I can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah,
I think it was To Kill a Mockingbird back in however many years ago, and you had brought in some like artists from town to work with the students there. And
right.
I think it was To Kill a Mockingbird, and we just kind of sat down in the basement around the table and would like split up parts and read and talk about, things in a script and what like, italics meant and like what a pause and when to take a pause and stage directions. So I think that was the first, I think that was the first experience like working with PPA.
Right.
But my first experience kind of finding out what it was when I think actually, during the Black Rep, I want to say we came to Hogan
Yeah,
Street. I think it was Rosa Parks, maybe, in the
that's
Miami bus
right.
boycott. I think, yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah. God, that was a long time ago. Yeah, and then after that, I came there with Metro with their touring production of New Kid.
Right.
But my first experience like working there was To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah.
Right. And that was a project that we did at Hogan Street with the youth and the staff there and involved a few other artists. We had, was it Ali Shwedi was with
Ellie
us,
Sweaty,
Molly,
Justin Ivan Brown,
Justin, and
Jared Sanzahero, may he rest in peace.
our friend.
Yeah, dear friend. Katie Donnelly was there.
Yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah,
an excellent time.
that was a fun time. Yeah.
So, how long have you been teaching with performing arts, and which facilities do you work at?
So I've been, I guess, I started teaching, I think like 3 years ago, 3 summers ago. You had asked me to come in with you to Hogan Street for the summer while I was on like summer break when I had a real job. And so
You still
that
have
was
a real
3 years
job,
ago. Yeah, I know, you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
full-time
And
artist.
yes, full-time artist. But now full-time, it's been like a year and a half, I believe, and I've been teaching at Hogan Street
Mhm.
and also the County Detention Center in Clayton. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Well, we are just so thrilled to have you working with us as a teaching artist. And I was curious, like, as a teaching artist, how do you approach creating a lesson plan?
Um, I kind of I like to first get to like meet or know the students and kind of see how much they already know or what they don't know and kind of gauge what their interests may be and then kind of create a lesson plan based around those interests to try to like pull out more. And then also I just like to play a lot of like theater games and
Mhm.
fun things where you're up on your feet, where you uh, interact a lot, and you just basically trying to, especially those first couple of times, just trying to find out kind of the vibe of the class and the guys who are in the class and everything. So I really create the lesson plan around the students and what they know and don't know and maybe things they want to learn.
Do you have a favorite theater game to teach?
Favorite theater game. Oh, that's easy. Big Money.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love Big Money. Big Money can get like really confusing sometimes. But I really like teaching it because once they like get it, then they're like, okay, let's try it. Let's keep doing it. And so that to me, I'm like, okay, because at first they're like, what is this? And then they're like, oh, this is cool. Especially when it comes to like elimination type of stuff where you got to like go to the end of the line when you mess up. Yeah.
So what is all involved in Big Money? Because it's
Big
one of my
Money.
favorites
Yeah,
too.
Big Money is so to like just kind of break it down. Big Money is like you have to like remember what number you are in the line or in the circle. You also have to remember like a rhythm that you have to do like this. And then you also have to remember like the whole big money, big money. Oh yeah. Big money, big money, big money. And then big money, whoever big money is, has to say big money and then another number. And then whatever number is called, they have to say their number and another number, all the while keeping in the rhythm of the game. And if
Yeah.
someone messes up, then they have to go to the end of the line. Or if Big Money messes up, then whoever messed them up takes Big Money's place.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
It's it's so much fun, and
it's fun.
it's really fun to be with you, Carl, when you introduce it to a new
Mm-hmm.
group, and just kind of that magic
Yeah,
happens. And yeah, it's a great a
yeah.
great experience.
And what's interesting is when I first learned Big Money, it wasn't called Big Money because I learned it when I was at the Black Rep, and it was called Big Booty. But you know, when you go and you can't say Big Booty, so Big Money is like an alternate to
Sure.
Big
We,
Booty.
we often talk to the students
Yeah.
about classroom appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have a favorite moment teaching with prison performing arts?
A favorite moment. Oh, I think my favorite moment has been like recently when we started the guys at Hogan Street. We kind of introduced. We were working on adventure stories and writing adventure stories, and we had watched The Goonies, which was in the '80s, and
Yeah.
we are trying to figure out like what else we could, watch. That it was the '80s adventure, and then we watched Stranger Things. You introduced Stranger Things to them, and it was just like amazing to see them just latch on to that and really just kind of get inspired by that. And the fact that they just, even though we were like, okay, we're going to watch it next week, some of them would like watch the whole rest of the season, and we would get back and they'd be like, oh, we're already on like episode 2 of season 3. So just like just their reaction to that, that's been a amazing like moment for me to see how something, you never know what someone is gonna like latch onto, but something about that they were just like, this is great, we need this.
And it's
Yeah.
been really fun to kind of follow their own storytelling,
Hmm.
inspired by the theme
Yeah,
with, both the Goonies and Stranger Things, and
absolutely. And like seeing their like when they work on the stories and how they just keep creating. And I think Stranger Things definitely inspired a lot of them to kind of think of storytelling as it doesn't always necessarily have to be linear. It doesn't have to like necessarily make sense all the time, as long as there is something that you can follow within the story and to think outside of the box. And a lot of them really have started like really thinking outside of the box with different things. And yeah, it's just amazing to see the growth from like the first time we were like, just write like a paragraph of a story, and then it was just like add on and on, and just to see the progression of the stories adding on. It's been
yeah,
great.
I can't wait till when we can get back in person and actually,
I know. I was so looking forward to the. We were going to do a production in
yeah,
July, like this month,
this
based
month,
on
right?
Stranger Things and everything,
Yeah.
and they were really excited. The last time I was there, before everything shut down, like last time I was there, they were so excited. We were talking about ideas, and so yeah, I was really looking forward to that.
We
Yeah,
will still do that. It
we will
will.
still do that. Yes, because hopefully season 4 will be out by then. Probably not, but
Hopefully. Carl, could you talk about the important work that you're doing as a rising leader of color through the Theater Communications Group?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Rising Leaders of Color is a program with the Theater Communication Group, which is basically like the national theater organization. They do conferences every year. This year, obviously, they're supposed to be in Phoenix, but because of COVID-19, it was all virtual, which was, great. But 2 years ago in 2018, St. Louis was going to be the destination for the conference, and I didn't really know too much about theater communication group until then. But Ron Himes at the Black Rep, he had a meeting like a few months before the conference was supposed to happen, and a lot of the organizers had come into town because they really wanted to see St. Louis and like really the nitty gritty St. Louis. So he invited us artists of color over to meet them, and then they told us about this program, Rising Leaders of Color and Fox Fellowship and all these things. And I didn't really think too much about it. And then like a month later, I had been getting emails like, you should apply, you should apply, you should apply. And I was like, okay. So I applied, and they accepted me. And they select like 4 artists of color from New York, and then the other 6 are from the host town, which was St. Louis that year. And it was an amazing experience. I got to do a lot of like core values work, which really helped me understand what my core values were in this industry and in this field. And it also was a big tipping point for me to pursue this like full time, and just kind of like leap out there. And it also made me have to really look at the community, St. Louis theater community, and really using my voice and not just, getting on stage and acting, and understanding that, there are a lot of things happening within the community that maybe people haven't really been speaking about. And
Mhm.
this is the opportunity for me to use my voice and talk about things in the community.
Well, that's
Yeah.
wonderful, and it's really been inspiring to watch that journey that you've had with this leadership, and that you and the whole cohort have taken
Or,
on.
yeah.
And just thank you for the work that all of you have been doing.
Oh, well, thank you. And I mean, just meeting, I've met so many people, just not from St. Louis, but other cohorts, because there's been other cohorts before us, and just having that like relationship. And it was great just speaking to other artists of color, not in St. Louis, and kind of hearing the same kind of struggles and everything. And I just want to give a big shout out to my cohort in St. Louis. That includes Jackie Thompson, Rosalind Early, Bryce Goodlow, Gabe Taylor, Anna Skidis, and myself, and then also an honorable mention to Adam Flores as
Yes.
well. So yeah.
And you and Adam, one of my memorable moments with PPA is when you and Adam came to Hogan Street when
Uh,
you were working on Of Mice and Men, and you were able
mhm.
to perform the opening scene for the youth there. And
Yeah, that was so much fun. Um, it's also like when you teach there, and then because I think a lot of the guys that first saw me like in shows, like when you would bring shows in to do scenes. And I haven't heard it anymore, but I used to hear like 39 steps stuff, like thank you all the time, like when I would get there. So it's always interesting when you like that's their first like kind of to you, is like seeing you perform, and then you come in and teach, and then you come back in and perform. And uh, that was a great experience, because they were really, I think at first, again, like what is this show, like what's going on, but they really like identified with a lot of the things that were going on with the two guys, Lenny and George's friendship, and really seeing that George is looking out for Lenny, and kind of correlates with them looking out for each other and having to look out for each other in that environment and everything. So that was great. Thank you for bringing us in for that. That was like one of my favorite times
oh gosh,
down
of
there,
course.
was doing
Yeah,
that. Yeah, that was
was-
great.
and directed
That
by
was great.
another
Jacqueline Thompson.
Thompson.
Yes, yes, there we go.
Well, Carl, I was curious if you could share why you think programs like Prison Performing Arts are important.
I think programs like Prison Performing Arts are important because I think a lot of times, especially with Black community, things like sports and things like that, like are always, I feel like, towards the forefront, and are always things that are really like pushed. But I think that like things like arts, I think arts, whether it be acting, singing, dancing, drawing, rap, anything like that, I think is very important because it gives you a way to like really express yourself. Because I think, a lot of times, especially as like young Black men, I remember being young and not necessarily knowing how to express myself, or I knew I had feelings, but I didn't know how to express them. And I think arts programs really give you an opportunity to really learn how to express yourselves and to kind of look at things differently. And you always think about like, yeah, I want to play sports, I want to do this, but a lot of times I notice like a lot of the students will be very, like I said, kind of like, what is this? But then they really like get into it, and I've seen like examples of a lot of the students who are not there anymore and who are now doing like theatrical work, and how it's like inspired them and impacted them. And I just think, as many different kind of like tools in the toolbox as you have, that goes for like sports, arts, like all those things, the more you have of those, I think the more better, as a more rounded individual you're going to be, because you never know what you like until you try it. And I think that the prison performing arts coming in and doing all these different like writing exercises, because it's not just, because a lot of people think prison performing arts, oh, you're in there acting, but a lot of it is writing. And I think that writing, again, it helps them learn how to express themselves more. It learns how to be creative and just kind of jot down ideas that maybe they've been thinking about in their head, but they didn't quite know how to write them out or kind of express them. And I think, it's very important to have arts in any kind of institution.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Carl, for spending some of your day with us. And
Is that it?
well,
Oh my gosh.
I have one
No, I'm
last
just like,
question,
okay.
because I know that you recently returned to baseball and you got to see your family. And
I did, I
my,
did, I
my
did.
final question is, what is
Hmm.
a transparent pie?
Okay, so transparent pie, everyone growing up, so I didn't even know that. So I assumed that transparent pies were like everywhere. Because growing up, that's transparent pies. I was like, they're everywhere. It wasn't until I got to like college when people were like, what is a transparent pie? So a transparent pie is basically, if you think of like a pecan pie without the pecans. I'm not really sure why it's called transparent. I actually asked my grandma, like, why is it called transparent pie? And she's like, I don't know. It's just, that's what we call it, transparent pie, because you can't really see through it. It's not transparent. But it's basically like, it's basically sugar, more sugar, eggs, uh, flour, milk, vanilla, butter, and more sugar, and a
It's
crust.
delicious.
It's kind of, I mean, it kind of has the like texture of like a gooey butter cake ish kind of thing. But there's transparent pies, and then there's transparent tarts, which are a lot easier because if you want to hand them out, they're just like little tarts, and they're not as sweet. Sweet. They're sweet, but they're not as sweet as if you eat a whole transparent pie.
As a
Yeah.
receiver of a couple transparent tarts that you brought back recently from Maysville, I thank you.
Oh,
As
you're welcome.
Miss Rose
I know. I saw that she enjoyed them. That's great.
very much
That's
did.
great. Yeah, yeah. I'll have to make some more because my
Yes.
aunt gave me her recipe, so
Oh
like
boy.
I could make some more. Yeah, but I
Oh,
don't know
that's
if my
great.
crust is gonna be as good as hers, but
I
it was
I
good.
delicious. Well, Carl, thank you so much, and thank you for the continued work that you've done with PPA during this difficult time through COVID, and continuing to provide resources and lessons plans to all the youth in our programs, and for just all the important and wonderful work that you do in the St. Louis theater community.
Well, thank you, Rachel, and I want to take this time to give a special shout out to Rachel Tibbetts because she, like, when you go to like any of these facilities, like especially Hogan Street, they're like, Miss Rachel, they love Miss Rachel, and the reason why they love Miss Rachel is because she loves them, and they know that she really cares about them, and she's there for them. She's not there because it's her job; she has to be. She's there because she wants to be. So, thank you, Miss Rachel. Thank you.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yes, yes,
Well,
yeah.
thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to all of you for joining us.
Yeah.
And go to the Prison Performing Arts website to learn more about our organization and the work that we're doing with both youth and adults and the Missouri criminal and juvenile justice systems. So thanks again, Carl.
Yeah. Thank you.